All right, so first thing you're going to be using is thermal imaging. So this is a FLIR camera, so this is what firemen would use to actually help save people. This is the real deal. We're going to be looking for cold spots with this. I have seen colder areas actually generate into full-blown like human figures, like human-shaped figures that are definitely cold when there's another human in the shot. So the whole point of this is that we're literally looking for those colder areas to be able to determine what's going on around us. Now, does this capture something every single night? Not necessarily, but when we do, it is a holy cow moment. Like it's a, you can definitely, yeah, it is definitely a big deal. Now you're gonna get this full video back. So we're gonna do a few starts and stops. John, this one's gonna go to you. But there's going to be a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen. So when you're watching your video, when I give it back to you, it kind of helps guide your eye because that's the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. So that way it helps guide you on where to watch it. This is not always an easy video to watch if you're not used to it. So that's why I made sure I put that blue dot on there. It does help in real time too, but with this specific camera, because it is on a cell phone screen, can be a little difficult to see in real time. But it's a matter of like, I'm going to upload it to YouTube so that way you guys can watch it however you want on your TV, tablets, phones, however you want to watch it. So you're going to hold this horizontal just like this pretty much all night long with the camera on your left hand side. Try not to grab it by the camera. It will pop out of there. It's just an attachment for the cell phone. So that one's going to go to you.
So I've got the long job now.
Hey!
But you're not cold.
I'm not cold.
I usually get the joke that I have the cold heart. So whenever somebody handed over something like, Nick, your heart is cold. So we're going to be using
yours is not.
Several different types of spirit boxes. So spirit boxes are ways for us to communicate with the dead. Now normally, are you familiar with the TV shows and like all those paranormal yahoos? Yeah. So I call them yahoos just because half of them don't know what the hell they're doing. So again, they're not about the history, they're about like, oh, we have something, we just don't know what the hell it is. So normally this would be the device that would generate the white noise and then they hear voices through it. So capturing a disembodied voice is a rarity. I only capture about 4 or 5 of those a year, not 12 an episode, like what they're claiming to get.
That's
so
bullshit.
Now, the way I actually have this guy set up is it's slowed down. The radio chatter will come through and that's what you're listening for. If you can make out what a song lyric is, or a DJ, or a commercial, it's a 50-50 shot, but we can tie it to a location, a person in history we're discussing, or something going on with one of you. It happens pretty much on a nightly basis. And it's not coincidence that I get the same, like almost like repetitive things, or clues to the same type of things in that person's life on a weekly basis at minimum. So you're going to have an earbud in if you're comfortable with that. You're going to be the only one to hear this in real time, but this is recording. I'm going to spot check the recording tomorrow morning and give you what I hear, and if it's relevant, I'm always going to give you a link to be able to verify my information. So that way you know I wasn't just spouting off at the mouth going, oh, this person died in this year, kind of mentality. It's always going to be that specific. So earwax is gross, so you get to keep these. I don't want them back. Your volume is right here. It's a wheel at the top. So undo your twist tie and pop one of those guys in your ear. Got a plug on you?
Yep.
And again, that's not the easiest job in the world, because listening to that can be a little mind-numbing. You need some help? I got 2 hands free. As soon as I can figure out which way it's tied. There we go.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Because they're both white. Perfect.
There you go.
So do I have to put both in? Or?
No, most people just have one hanging in and out, and you can pull it in and out of there whatever you're comfortable with. So again, it's not an easy thing to actually listen to. You're going to find that out really, really fast. So one of the things, I normally have a separate device set up with this, but it's just going to be easier to carry my own phone with it. So this is another spirit box that we don't have to listen to. It's going to give us a word from time to time in the center of the screen, and it will save all of the terms to a list with timestamps next to it. Kind of helps me with going to your recordings and that kind of thing to see if anything actually matches up. So last tour I did when I was using my own phone had 73 terms. That's about an average for a 90 to 120 minute time frame. I'm going to clear them out and then start us off fresh. However, this is a phone app. 80% of this is going to be bullshit. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not going to mean anything. This is actually meant to try to scare people. Think of this as kind of like a college kid drinking game. So the other 5 to 20%, I'm going to give you the full list because something might be relevant to you, and you're not going to tell me in real time, but at least you'll have the full list, so you'll be able to see whatever those clues are. So we'll go through that, and I'll just leave this in my pocket, kind of pull it out from time to time. The last piece I think I'm going to pull out tonight, just so that we have a gauge of measurement. So This is an EMF detector.
Ah.
So it does several functions, but we're just going to focus on the numbers for now. So basically the numbers are any electrical magnetic field in the air. So it's measuring it through a piece in the back. But anything above 2.5, I kind of like always want to take a look at it. So normally, like the ones on TV that they use, like these are very sensitive and they only go up to 25 milligauss. I say 2.5 because that would be the second dot on this guy, kind of indicating there might be something going on. I'm always going to try to debunk things first. It will pick up on electrical wiring, parking meters, that kind of thing. But again, we're always there to debunk things first to see if there's a rhythm or pattern. The other thing that it has a motion sensor on it, but again, with a smaller group like this, I try not to get too complicated, but it also has ambient temperature. So if you do find something on your camera, I can go find where that cold spot is and see if it's coming from something man-made. So again, it does happen from time to time. But I just
That
like to
would
have...
be cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if it is there, then I can go find it. So I'm basically going to keep this in my back pocket until you guys get super comfortable. Then I'll probably pass it off to one of you, so that way you guys can watch that as well. But again, I'm not going to throw too much at you. I'll keep things running
cool.
as well. So, but I think that's all I'm going to. I mean, I'm set up for 10 to 11 people based on whatever night it is. So if I need to pull out something else like the laser grades or the other style of camera, then I'll pull that out too. But there's a lot of different styles of spirit boxes. I have a digital Ouija board in there. Like there's all kinds of craziness. Yeah, that's a brand new device, new to the market. So
Ouija board?
it's a digital. It works basically off of
I grew up with a Ouija board.
the way I explain it, they call it an envoy, and they don't describe it as a Ouija board, but basically it's letters, and anytime there's an EMF spike, like a 2.5 and higher, it's going to stop the cursor on a letter and save it to a list. So that way you can either make anagrams, full names, initials, those kind of mentalities. But it is brand new to the market, and I'm still testing with it, so there's really no point in me trying to explain and going into all those details here.
Cool.
So there's a lot of tech that goes into this, as I'm sure you saw in the bag. Like there's a lot going on there, and I keep turning on that flashlight. I have to turn on things out this way.
This is going to be exciting.
There's a reason why we start here. Of course there is. Big John's. I know it's closed, but that's only because it's Monday. They're not open on Monday. But this place used to be owned by a football player. This place is haunted, which is why we started. The football player's name was Big John Kennedy. Yes, he named it after himself. So with that, he actually played for the 1947 New York Giants. Whenever I'm giving you the history of a location, I'm always going to slow down on the specific keywords that will come up on the spirit boxes that I commonly see. For that specific location, it's going to be 47 New York Giants and anything relative to a bar the name John. You probably thought it was cool that we were stopping next to a place named after you. So,
Tell you what,
Well, actually, his name is...
my first name is John.
Yes.
My name is John Eugene. I go by Gene.
got it.
So
So, my mistake. I should have asked you
Oh,
ahead
no,
of time.
No.
Not your
That's
mistake.
Cool.
that's
cool.
standard.
Yeah.
He's a total geek, so...
Well, hopefully it geeks out on some of this stuff, right? Here's why the place is haunted.
Well, now I know why you're a hothead,
Oh,
because I could see it.
that's funny.
Your face is 103 degrees, dude.
Actually,
I'm happy.
stop your video for a second. That's the red square.
Okay.
Not be 103 degrees, because that would mean that she has a fever.
Oh, now you're 93.0.
There we go. That sounds better. So, John used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets that were coming over from the Citadel, if they were
Yes.
old enough to drink or not. One night, two guys came in. They weren't old enough to drink. John had the bartender throw them out, and they left pretty angry. They came back the next night, and they tried to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John saw what was going on, and he slammed down his beer, and he goes over and just starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots went off. John got grazed in the neck, and the bullet landed behind him in the wall. He gets up after being the only one that's been shot and goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to give him another beer, get the two guys on the floor, and ambulance. So, normally if I tell you a building's haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragic death that occurred here. That's not the case. What's haunting the place is that bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. I say allegedly because this renovation of Big John's may have filled it in, sealing Big John's blood inside the building. There's no way they got every drop out. People that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache. It's part of the reason why we start here. This is kind of your heated warning. We're dealing with paranormal activity tonight, although it seems like you've had plenty of experience with it. But if anybody feels any of those kind of symptoms, headache, nausea, dizziness, kind of need to know so we can get you to safety. We're always going to blame the heat and humidity first. Again, not everything's going to be paranormal. I'm not that guy. So, but with that, have you guys taken any other history tours, any kind of tours down here at
Yes.
Well,
No,
just the cooking. No, not.
all?
We
Okay.
took a
We
history
did a
and
cooking
cooking
tour.
class.
Okay.
tour
So did
Sunday.
they tell you about the big earthquake we had?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. This building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake.
Oh.
The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around the front. So a piece of it broke off during that earthquake, struck somebody in the back of the head, and killed them. And the previous owner of this bar said he used to see dark shadows out in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night after closing. I say allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just usually a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour. So with just such a small group, I still like to bring up the fact that we had an earthquake here because that's anomalous for Charleston all by itself.
Yeah.
So let's go deep dive a little bit further into your devices. Can we turn that thing up at all so you can get just the volume of it? It's right above the numbers on the very top.
Okay. Stop up here because I can't find it.
Oh. So it is right here.
Okay.
Got it now?
Yes.
All right. Just wanted you to get the gist of what it sounds like. And that's what everybody said. All I do is radio. Remember, that's what you're listening to. These are beginner methods. So, that said, radio chatter that might make sense of where we come from. So also imagine when I have 10 to 11 people, I have 8 to 9 more devices to explain. So I
Yes.
always stop here to give a little bit further explanation with an example. This is the big red barn barn. This is where we keep some of the horses for the carriage rides. I'm sure you guys can,
Smell it.
yeah, I was gonna say, most people can smell it. I'm out here 7 nights a week unless it rains. I can't smell them anymore. But the history here is really simple, and it's just a good example to explain your devices further. This is the same red barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston, 1860s to 1920s, roughly. So with that, keywords, delivery, milk, eggs, anything relative to a stable. So let's talk about these spirit boxes that we're using, because I'm using one too. Not everything's going to be paranormal, but what's the first question everybody wants to ask a Ouija board or some kind of communication device? What do you think?
Who are you?
Okay, who are you? What else? How about is anybody here?
Oh, is anybody here? Yeah.
You've seen movies. Everybody always asks, is anybody here? So the point I'm trying to make is that if you hear the word no, that means somebody's here. Like, we're not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. We're going to be going after specific details of these locations, because even if you are a skeptic of any kind, you're still here to have fun and actually hopefully experience something for yourself. So,
Is that your car?
no.
Well, the tires are still hot on it.
Oh, yeah, it just pulled in. It wasn't here.
So it's been moving because the tires are hot.
Right. Engine's probably hot too.
Yeah, it is. Sorry.
No, you're good. Perfectly fine. When I'm teaching people how to use these devices, it's a matter of asking at first what kind of a question that you already know the answer to. So if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, you're listening for the color red, but you're listening to song lyrics and DJs. The word red might not be available. Fire truck, blood, heart. Those three things are specifically red. That would make sense to me. However, most of the night, I'm going to require that there's at least 2 things happening for me to even come close to labeling something as paranormal. So if you hear the word red, that's a direct answer. But another example of that is if I get the word art on this word list, that doesn't make any sense over here. But if she hears the number 40, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. You see where we're going to have to be putting clues together to kind of see like what's actually happening?
Totally.
Well, we got a lot of terms already. What's funny is we got the word headline and we were just speaking about newspapers. So, again, I don't see anything. I'm still calling it 80% garbage at this point, but just one of those kind of mentalities. So with your camera, Gene, I'm going to have to change that up because I already had John in my head.
That's all right.
That's okay. That's cool.
A couple of things with yours. People don't like their cars to be filmed, so normally when I have my large groups, the cameras are usually very obvious to see when people are filming the areas. And the other thing you're going to try to do is to try to keep the sky out of view. The blue dot that I spoke about earlier will default to the sky when it's in view because there's no surface. Sometimes that's going to be hard, but it may be even impossible in some spaces it will be in, but just try to do your best. It's going to be your video essentially, so it just makes it nice and easy to try to keep that blue dot out so you have a guideline to watch out for.
Okay.
I will also tell you, like when we're walking around and we're kind of doing things, if you want to try to keep somebody's skin in view,
Yep.
just tap the off button. I gotta reset it back up. Okay. All right. So let's get away from football players and ponies. Let's deep dive into history. What do you think? Does that sound like
I
much?
think that's fabulous.
Let's
That's
do it.
what I want.
Yeah, I think you guys have the gist of what these devices do.
I've been looking for
Oh, you guys booked quite a while ago from what I saw.
a month ago?
I think it said back in
Couple.
May.
It was a couple months ago, honey.
Yeah.
And what's nice is on Mondays, it's like we have the whole city to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, there's not going to be a whole lot of tourists out there. I know there's much more traffic going on. Alright, so welcome to your first weird space. You made it to a parking lot. Congratulations. This place used to be something. So I guess first and foremost, I'm not going to be, spouting off questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. So we're going to get our answers from the spirit boxes, and hopefully we get some answers tonight. But where the heck are we? This is the Eliza and Charles Pinckney mansion site. So their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And then the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the area, and it actually went over the median. So who the heck were these people? Eliza and Charles had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Charleses. That's why I always look for a secondary verifier so I know who we're chatting with. However, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal for us. However,
Yes.
I hate politics. We're going to move on. If I don't mention it, it usually comes through. What do you got?
He has a signer of the Declaration of Independence, Hooper.
Yeah. That's
actually really cool.
I'm a direct descendant from, yeah.
That's really cool stuff, actually.
Yeah.
So how far back have you gone through your lineage, just out of curiosity?
To
We've gone back to the
Ward.
1600s, yeah.
1600s, yeah.
When my John Ward Sr. came over,
And he was the governor.
he was the governor from King Charles I.
Okay.
So we're talking way
Yeah,
back before
right.
Cromwell and all that.
Right.
Assigned to be the
governor
the
for
governor of Virginia, yeah,
Virginia.
of
Yes.
the Virginia territories.
Wow.
So,
So my father told us growing up that Sir Francis Drake, the
Oh.
famous pirate, was our
Yes.
8th great-grandfather. And
Alright.
with what I do for a living now, and research,
Yes.
I found out that was untrue. He was in the family, but he was not a great, we weren't a direct descendant from his line because he never had any children that were actually, so he would have been like a 8th grade uncle of some sort, however that breaks
Okay.
apart. So it was kind of interesting. My brother called me and he's like, we were talking about one of our uncles that we never met. And I was like, do you ever remember Dad telling you about Sir Francis Drake? He's like, yeah, he's our 8th grade grandfather. I'm like, no, he's not. So I sent him some links to kind of show him how I traced it back, and
How
he's like,
cool
that
is
is,
that?
he's like, that's actually, that's a whole different ballgame. But my brother and I, we don't always speak about what our professions are because we're on different ends of the spectrum. So it's a matter of when we do talk about things, he calls me about research because he knows I put a lot of research into my work.
Yes.
So, but anyway, back to the Pinckney family. Liza's probably getting upset. We're talking about pirates and not her, right?
Yeah, right.
So, we're going to talk about Eliza. She married Charles at a young age. I bring that up only because it's according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So if we're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, we're not going to get numbers like 12 and 14. A lot of people expect that it was so young that it's reasonable for us today. But I bring it up because Charles, her husband, was over double her age when they married. So it's still kind of a really big age gap back then in the 1700s, definitely a big age gap now. So again, it's a kind of giving you at least a clue of what kind of numbers you'd be hearing if we asked that question. But she married him because her father was over in England, where they're from, and he's trying to get all of his children home because he thinks he's dying. Eliza doesn't think he's dying right away. It's 1744, so she marries Charles so she can stay put. And it's not like she married him for a green card, because we're not, even a country yet. So she did marry him out of love and showed her father, like, I'm going to stay here and take care of the family plantations, and I'm going to be married to a Pinckney. She was right. Dad didn't die right away. Instead, he apologetically starts sending her gifts from England to this space. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Now, you guys have been in town for at least a few hours.
Yes, that's
You've
a
seen the word indigo.
huge thing.
Now, when she got it, she didn't know what to do with it. So she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. So you guys are in Texas, you guys get weird weather too. So it's not always hot. So when she figured it out, she experimented with it here. She moved it to another family plantation just south of here by the Stono River. She calls her father up and says, rice plantations in Charlestown are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. So now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. So, like, that's her business. Like, this is a very big deal, because a businesswoman in colonial times is unheard of. But let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why we're here, right? All the paranormal weird stuff. Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. The first Eliza died in January of 1744. 5 months later, he marries the one we just talked about. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. At times, whichever Eliza we're dealing with, her maiden name will come through on a spirit box. The mansion's not here anymore. We can always ask what happened to it. If we get an answer, when did that happen? Like, I'm looking for, we get the specific date, so like month, day, and year. Like, you'll hear numbers, and I'm like, oh, well, that might be part of it. And again, I'm going to withhold information so that way you have a genuine experience. We can ask anything we want to about Eliza's death, so how old she was, where she's buried, what she died from, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Like, these are very specific,
Really?
non-yes or no questions. So, have you heard anything come out of that guy yet that you can actually understand? Again,
Nothing.
it's not an easy
There's
job.
nothing.
There's nothing.
There's zero. Nothing.
So you have no volume at all right now?
No.
Okay, so give yourself a little bit of volume so you can hear it. That's the wheel at the top, remember?
Okay.
So I hit the hold button, so I'm going to reset this. Now, we do get a lot of weird spikes out of this guy in this location. The average is normally about 18 to 22 milligauss. Like, I'll explain that before we leave, but that's a very high spike for other locations we're going to, but for here, that would be a normal type of spike that we would see. Now, right now, we have like a 1.1. That's normally about average of what the Earth gives off as far as an electromagnetic field. So, again, anything above 2.5 is usually what I'm after. But we're going to kind of peruse the lot. You're going to listen in and see what's going on. If you want to ask questions, you can. If not, I'm pretty open to obviously asking. I'm here every night. It's not like Eliza doesn't know my face or voice. But I do want to take a look at... Yeah, I still have nothing going on with this guy. So if Crystal's a person, I don't know who that is. So I want to see if we can actually get a spike out of this and kind of see what's going on. So I want to definitely get you listening in a little bit closer, but try to stay away from vehicles too. Let's head over to that corner and let's see if we can get out of that. I want to know that you're welcome to Charleston. Like, that's, sometimes it gets really silly, but sometimes it's relevant to the location where we're at. So, again, it's not an easy job.
Certain ghost tour.
Okay? Eliza, what happened to your beautiful mansion that was here? Can you tell us what happened to it? We're not using a lot of the equipment tonight, so just take one of the devices, the boxes. You know how this works?
It's switching so much. There's just...
And that's the slowest speed that I can set it up on to. Again, it's not an easy task. Eliza, we'd really like to hear what happened to your beautiful house that was here.
Something really bad.
It was a tragedy.
I just heard something really bad.
Oh, then we'll take that so far.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you were asking me if it was something really bad.
No, that's what I heard, something really bad.
Eliza, what was the something that was really bad?
What? I'm sorry. I can't tell you about others.
Is that what you heard? Tell me about the others.
Yes.
Not getting any readings at all. Oh, there's a 6.4.
Don't ask me about it.
Okay. I just got a 6.4 spike on here, so that's pretty good. And there was a 4.4 after it. All right, Eliza, why don't you tell us how old you were when you died? Can you tell us what your age was?
You're a punk.
Is that what she said?
Yes.
That wasn't even a saying back then.
It wasn't.
Right on.
Eliza, tell us how old you were when you passed away. Here's where I had that little spike, and now there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Eliza, you know which questions we normally ask. Let's go after you telling us about your death. Wherever you're buried, which president carried your coffin to your grave, how were you honored, which president was there.
I don't highlight that part.
What?
That makes complete sense. She probably wouldn't. She was a very humble woman. Can you tell us what year you died? I know you know what year it is. You've given it to us in the past.
Oh. Sort of fuck you.
No?
Totally.
No.
Wow.
That's your wine talking, girl.
Kind of a rarity here on the radio.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I wrote it down. That's not something you would typically hear on the radio.
I was like, where'd that come from?
Ask her how old she is. I know women don't like to disclose their age, but Eliza, how old were you when you passed away?
I was young.
Said I was young.
Yes. I don't know how old she was.
She wasn't young.
She felt young.
I'm sure she did. Because for that time period, she was 70 years old when she passed away. That's a
Yes.
long time for a colonial woman to be living.
Yes.
I mean, I'm 64. and
Charleston.
pretty young.
Usually with the word Charleston in it, I'm not like super, all about it because you're listening to Charleston radio stations. Eliza, tell us what year you passed away. What year was that?
I'm not going to tell you. Oh, what? Okay, that's weird.
Eliza, what will you tell us tonight? What do you want us to know about? What's going on with that?
Liza, do you want us to leave? I'm not going to do it tonight.
Fair enough. So weird.
What do you got?
There's words here that I don't normally see on this list, and I've been using this thing for years.
Blood sucking.
Blood sucking I've never seen
Yes.
before. I've never seen the word punch. The word crystal was what we got when we first got here. Everything else was before over by Big Sean. Yes, Eliza. We're here respectfully, trying to teach these folks about you. Here's your answer. Do you want us to leave?
Yes. I told you she wants us to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm still going to give you the answers before we leave. So why don't you turn your volume down so that way you're not getting any more fuck yous through the radio. Go ahead and kill your video. So hit that red square. We're going to kind of give your hands a rest. I always like to give you the answers to all of them. So this is let's move it a little bit further. It's like a little bit of a sewer smell. This is what we call a residual ghost that's going on in here. So normally, before we leave the Pinckney Mansion site, I have my groups with the spirit boxes listen in for names. So the reason for the names is because I have a full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived out here. You guys give me the same two names over and over again, which are Benjamin and John. We did hear John while we were in Pinckney Mansion site, but I'm going to put that relative to we were close to Big John's. So there were 4 different Johns that lived down here during a 60-year time frame. So that specific John likes to give us his last name too, Johnson. You guys will hear Benjamin, John, and Johnson all in the same evening every 6 to 7 weeks. So you told me every July you used to have something going on in the house. It's the same principle here. This is what we call the stone tape theory. It's like watching a movie on loop. So
Yes.
the bricks that we're standing on, they've been here. These are Belgian blocks. They've been here since 1739 that we know of. They've
So
been-
everybody's.
so the people that lived here, it's like they're hanging on to the memories of the things that occurred here. So any kind of natural stone like this is said to hang on to the memories of its space. So that's why some of your, these are not as old. When I say people lived here, these 2 buildings weren't here. So we're talking little tiny shotgun houses, like 1 to 2 rooms only. So but Benjamin and John, 2 out of 5 people that lived here in 1801. That's the only thing I can find out about them, other than the fact that I get their names every 6 to 7 weeks. Right now we're on week 3, 4 of that loop, so I wasn't really expecting Benjamin and John to come through, but I never know. That's why I don't normally always tell you what the names are until we get into the space. Before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here. That's where it gets its name from.
That's a big thing. That the Masonic Lodge is a,
So-
my father was a Freemason.
Okay.
Yes, I know my mother was one too.
We
My
will
mother
get
was
to...
an Eastern Star.
Okay. Let him finish.
No, but she's hearing things,
Oh.
so I'm paying attention.
That's
Oh,
what they
okay.
said. Your
That's
mother
why
was
I'm
one
waiting
too.
to see if she's getting any other messages coming through. So it said your mother was one too?
She was Eastern Star, which is the female version of.
Okay.
Masons, and so was my grandmother.
We will hear the term Illuminati down here on that thing. Now, first off, you're listening to radio stations, just like the FU that we heard back at Pinckney Mansion. Who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio? So normally you guys will hear it as we enter the space, and we've also get the term Founding Fathers. So Founding Fathers has shown up here several times too. So I kind of tie that back up to the Freemasons as well. But we'll get like Mason, Brick, Freemason. But it looks like, I mean, you're getting direct messages from, you know, whoever you are bringing with you today. So again, you're getting things from Eliza over there, and now somebody else is telling you something else. Like you keep taking, you're taken aback every time you get a message. Kind of see your head. Yeah. We don't spend a lot of time in this location because it's not like we can ask questions and kind of get answers. It's normally about that loop. If something's going to occur, let's see if we can just capture it and kind of move on. Not to mention,
Go on your way.
This alley gets very humid because of the Belgian blocks. They're made of granite. So again, they hang on to the humidity like nobody's business. Normally everybody's dripping with sweat after I get through the little spiel here.
But
He keeps saying I'm cold.
How cold is she?
No, she's... Feel her shoulder. No, really, feel her shoulder.
I don't know. Can you get a temperature on her shoulders?
$87 degrees.
And what's the other crosshair say? You have two of them. You have the center one.
Well, the ambient temperature is 82.
Or 87.
Her head is like 90.2.
Okay.
I'm not
And
hot.
Something's happening with you tonight.
Yeah. What is this?
The next space I'm going to take you to is another alley. However, I can't take you all the way through it like what we're doing now. I've been kicked out. So we're going to kind of sneak in on the one side, and I'll tell you what's going on in that location.
Okay.
But I'm also going to tell you how I got kicked out of the alley, because that's the fun part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just got, well, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, they all know. Come on.
I'm trying to listen. I just heard, what's that last verse? I don't know.
What's that last verse?
Yes.
Jane, kill your video as we exit the alley, just because we're in kind of a neighborhood. So as they're coming by, you're not going to be filming people. So this is Philadelphia Alley. This is a
heard of it.
very interesting space. Love this space. Sad that I've been booted out. I'm actually just not allowed on the other side. So that's because there's a beautiful mansion at the other side, and we're not allowed in residential areas. So here's how the story goes here. This place used to be called Dueler's Alley. Yeah, it's probably going to be difficult to hear me and that at the same time, because you're focused on that guy. What did you hear before you pull it out?
It's all about me.
All about me. It is. So, Dueler's Alley. That's what this used to be called. We all talk about the same duel. However, I tell it a little bit differently because we're ghost hunting. We need different details. Here's how the story goes. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée, Amanda, just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She's an attorney, helping her out with the cash flow. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. So as he's coming into town, the coaching has set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start. Somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I stop on Ralph because he has the same initials as where the doctor came from. His initials show up often, even when I'm not using the Ouija board piece, the little digital one. We still get it on spirit boxes. It's uncanny, but we always need the second clue so we know who it belongs to. But anyway, Ralph says, you don't want to stay here. I know this gentleman is going to try to kill you. He's got a gunman inside. You can stay with friends of mine at 59 Church Street. They'll rent you a room. Dr. Ladd took him up on the offer, and they become friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. That means Amanda's moving down soon because he's proving his point. He wasn't after her money. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Every haunted city has a whistling ghost. It's a guarantee. So just kind of keep that in mind. But there is proof of this one specifically. Be mindful there's going to be a neighbor walking her dog. So basically at this point, stop your video. Yeah, just kind of be casual. So that gate we were standing by, that was for when there was a loser to a duel. That was a shortcut to get to the cemetery on the other side.
Oh.
Otherwise, they'd have to go all the way down to Queen, because remember, this side was cut off,
Oh, that's right.
and go down and around.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
Well, then they had the poles that stopped carriages and everything else.
there was probably a wall there, because this used to be called Cow Alley before it was Dueler's Alley.
Uh-huh.
It held the livestock of the city.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So, again, the history of that location, if you really deep dive into it and look at the maps and kind of see how it's laid out, it gets very interesting, and you can almost see how it's evolved. It gets crazy.
Isn't that cool?
That's what I love about doing this. I learn something new every single day.
All right. I'm thinking I'm being.
Why? This is what you came to do, right?
Yes.
You're not weirding me out. I'm the last person you should worry about being weird about. This is what I do for a living. Most of my friends are psychics and mediums. That's why I started to recognize the signs that you were giving me.
Think that I'm bullshit.
You're not. No,
Because I'm an empath, and I know I'm an empath. Yes, I know. Thank you. If you say so.
Does she do this often, or she just?
Oh yeah, it's not uncommon.
And he knows I'm an empath. I
But
understand.
but it's okay, you know.
We don't think anything about it.
I've been married to her for 44 years, so I'm used to it, shall we say? There's. What are you hearing, honey? Something's here.
A lot of weird happenings tonight. I'm just making sure everything's still up and running here. So the word list is pretty weak, but I just got the word float as we were walking in here. We're about to discuss pirates. So at times we'll get like wave, boat, water, ocean, those kind of things. What did you hear?
I've been trying very hard to talk to you.
Actually, a good thing. So, that's what you just heard? I've been trying
Yes.
very hard to talk to you. Hopefully, you start getting us a little bit more than I normally get in this location. Because again, it's a hit or miss.
Nobody's saying nothing.
Is that what they said?
Yes.
And that would be proper English for pirates back in the day. Nobody's saying nothing. So, what is this place? We're going to be discussing that little tiny building over there. That is the powder magazine. So,
Oh.
yeah, those are not crosses on the building, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. We talked about
Okay.
the earthquake
Oh.
earlier today.
Yes, yes, yes. No, yeah, we've heard that all week.
Well, that's the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston actually put in. The reason
Okay.
why is because it's the oldest government building in South Carolina, which is part of the reason why we're here. We don't have many buildings at the same time frame that Anne Bonny was here in Charleston, so this is one of those buildings. So this is what I call a familiar. It's almost like using a toy to attract a child's spirit, so it's the same type of principle. But I do like to tell you a little bit about the building because the architecture is
Why are they
fascinating.
saying that? Coming down?
I'll tell you why.
Why are
She's
they
getting
saying
good.
coming
I'm
down?
gonna tell you. You gotta hold on to your horses here. So the wall that I told you about earlier back at Lodge Alley, this is the street where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. Lodge Alley, we were still that was one of the first streets we ever had. But the Charlestown Wall was to fortify the city. It went up Cumberland Street just past the Powder Magazine and kept it right into the corners on purpose, going south this way. So the Powder Magazine is literally right here inside the walls. If it gets attacked from a Revolutionary warship or a pirate ship, it's going to have a hard time making it this far, but if it does, the walls are 3 feet thick. So if it does penetrate and blows up the gunpowder, there's sand in the roof that's supposed to go up in the air and come down to burn, put out the fire of the gunpowder.
So that's why it said it's coming down.
Right. But it doesn't work either. So those earthquake bolts, they don't work. It's not, it's just part of the Charleston
100
charm.
yards.
Yeah.
What's 100 yards?
100 yards.
You should have it every year.
Don't be within 100 yards of here. And when it goes,
Well,
I don't know.
what I'm thinking is because the wall went up past the Powder Magazine about a block, probably about 100 yards, before it started moving this way south
Oh,
to the next bastion. So I'm going to write down 100 yards and see what the measurement is on that. I have the maps to be able to do that. So that's interesting.
Yes, that's significant.
that's what you heard?
Yes, yes, that's significant. And this is
You're giving me good stuff. All right, I'm gonna have you pull that earbud out. Let's go through pirates before you start giving us all kinds of jumble, more stuff. Here's why you're listening. No, you're fine. Like, it's just when you're listening, you're focused on it. And
Yes.
I'd like you to know the history before you start getting all of the answers to that.
Yes.
So, Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland, 1708, during the construction of this building. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. You guys with me so far? There's a lot of twists in this one.
Yes.
The three of them running away from his angry wife.
Ah.
Yeah, they leave Ireland and land in Georgetown, just north of here. Dad bought a plantation up there, but Mom died pretty quickly. That means he has to send young Anne down here to be able to sell anything from the plantation, keep things afloat. That's why we're here, familiar building. But Anne, back home in Ireland, they say she actually killed one of her servants with a knife to the belly when she was just a little girl. So I'm just giving you the mentality of this young lady, even from the start. Fast forward, the building's done in 1713. Pirates are starting to come through town in 1715. Anne is stoked. She's going to fall in love pretty quickly because she wants her freedom, just like a man. So she falls in love with guy number one. Yes, we're going to keep track. There's a handful. James Bonney was the first gentleman.
Really?
Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married, and Cormac is now Anne Bonny. So now we have where she got her name from.
Uh-huh.
But when she got there, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wants. This guy's a coward in her eyes. So she falls in love again a few years later. The second guy is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is literally the man that they based the Disney character off of for Captain Jack Sparrow, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Really?
So Jack does have his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it because she wants her freedom, just like a man. But you can't put a female on a pirate ship because girls are bad luck on a crew. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like the crew, you can hide your gender, and you'll be part of the crew, but you're going to be a female in my quarters. She's okay with the cross-dressing because Dad used to hide her as a boy apprentice back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, let's do this. But let's put two and two together. Being a female in his quarters, she's eventually going to get pregnant, and you can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Somebody's going to figure out that she's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. That bag getting a little heavy for you? I see the shoulders going. I know that.
Oh, yeah. It's been all day.
Put it on the front, honey.
Yeah.
She goes and has the baby in Cuba, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child, but she's also dressed like a female, which makes Jack pretty angry. Now everybody's going to find out that he let a girl on the crew. While she was away giving birth, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. And to make Jack even more mad, she's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. Guy number three. Guy number three turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. This young lady's name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a pirate, because she's got to be a male to be on a crew. So her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers. We're never going to know for sure, but the British find out where they are, and they send an entire fleet of ships to take down the one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only two pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their one-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use cannons yet, and obviously they're going to get taken. Two ladies are not going to take on a fleet of ships with one-bullet flintlocks. So as they're being arrested, she looks at her captain, Calico Jack, and she says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up here a lot on Spirit Box Word. So,
Do I need to listen?
not yet. We're not there yet. I know. You're excited.
I am.
The judge wants to see the two men that fought back so valiantly on their own after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't fight. So Anne and Mary go in front. They reveal their gender, hoping to save themselves. He doesn't care that they're female. They're still pirates. He's still going to hang them. So they scream out, "We plead our bellies," which means you can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal.
Yes.
So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charlestown area with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed. We're not really sure about her. She has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in that Jamaican jail. So most articles and books will tell you that it was fever. I'm going to call bullshit. It was probably scurvious and bumpy and gross and really nasty stuff. Now, the only 2 things that I left out of this story for Spirit Box work, like you're getting messages anyway, but normally I have to give people questions. Those 2 questions in this space, because everything else is up for grabs. The names of Anne Bonny's parents I left out for sure. So that's the father and the mistress, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So again, that's a rare one, but when it does pop up, it is another holy shit moment. Pop that thing in your ear. We're going to actually get close up there by that wall and have a seat and kind of see what's going on, because I want to run both of my gadgets and put the bag down, and you can put your bag down. By the way, this is our last stop. So We're either gonna
Sir
get.
Walter?
I've just had this on
Sir-
all day.
Oh, understood. I
Sir
don't
Walter?
know who that is, but I'll
Me
find
neither.
out. There's a lot that goes on in this corner, so we're gonna see what else you get out of it and see what other histories I need to tell you. This is one of those areas where I kind of wait and see what happens.
So what do they use this building for now?
It's a museum.
Oh, okay.
They have all the artillery and the uniforms from the 7 different wars that it served.
Okay.
So
Just, I don't know that wall just seems really hot.
So anything made of concrete like this is probably going to hang on.
Just
to
hangs the heat
sun.
from the day. Okay.
Let's take a look at my word list.
Brace yourself. Is that what you said, babe?
Yes, brace yourself.
I will tell you that the last 2 psychics that I had over here came up with the exact same thing, and it was nothing of what we just talked about. I want to see
I
if
just
it
heard
comes.
brace yourself.
Yeah, there's more. There's more to that. I want to see what else you get going on with that. Take a look at that word list. See what's going on. Luminary. Now look at that. There's the word Mason. Very interesting.
Yes, I'm anxious.
You do what?
They just said you're anxious.
That device also will pick up any motion. So we'll see colors and hear a tone out of it if any motion is going to go near it. Just got the word leave. We're not leaving yet. Not until we get more out of it.
Incredible.
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 That's a.
If you need to move, add move.
And you want to tell us what your father's name was?
What? No.
I don't know.
Anne, what's your father's name?
Tell us your mother's name. No questions we're going to be coming after. We're out here every night. We want some kind of signal that you're here. And I'm not leaving until we get something out of you. So if that was you that put the word leave on my box over here, I'm not leaving.
What?
You just totally missed it.
What?
What happened?
That's what she said. You just totally missed it. I'm saving the best for last.
That's why we end the tour here. I just got however.
Which would be right in line with I'm saving the best for last. However, it's basically the same thing.
Come on, Ann.
Talk to us.
We're here to
I can listen. I can hear you. I'm open to you. It's an important word of life. What? What is your important word of life? Follow what? What? Unto Christ. Seriously.
We're next to St. Philip's Church. We get a lot of religious terms over here. a lot. Pretty much a nightly basis.
Christ again.
Ask her what her mother's name is.
What is your mother's name, Anne? Anne Marie Antoinette. Why would they say that on a radio?
Because her mother's name was Mary.
You don't know.
What's your father's name?
Tell us your father's name. We got your mother's name. I see the clue.
Okay, we got your mother's name. What's your father's name? What?
And you know you can get close
She
to this
doesn't want to tell me.
metal stick over here. It'll give us all these different tones to show us the motion. Got the word figure on there now.
Oh, look at it, it's 2.3.
You always know this.
Do you want me to ask something different?
Ask her if Mary was her lover.
That's a yes or no question. Although we did get a direct answer before of her yes or no question. Let's see, what do we want to ask?
Who's your third lover?
And tell us what city you're from in Ireland. Where did you grow up? What'd you get?
I just.
Garbage.
Yeah.
And tell us what city you grew up in Ireland.
Oh, that's really haunting music.
What is it?
Yes. Oh, that was.
It's music.
No, it was very haunting.
Come on, Ann.
Prison, death. But what did you originally do, Anne? Be myself.
It says,
Introduced.
It said prison and death. If you're speaking of Mary, tell us Mary's last name.
Diplomat. Patriot.
Your term. The word bronze just showed up. I don't think I've ever seen that on there.
Bronze.
Bronze. And I want to know what city you lived in Ireland. That would prove to me that you're here and that we've been able to speak to you every night.
No.
Come on, Ann. I'll keep taunting you until I get it.
John. Johnny. Why did I get a Johnny?
Calico Jack's real name was John Rattle.
Whose name?
Johnny is what she heard.
And who's that?
That's
Scout.
Calico Jack's real name.
Oh, okay.
We also
Royal.
have
Scout Royal.
We also have John Calhoun buried on the other side of that wall. We'll get clues relative to him, but I haven't heard anything other than the diplomat piece where I'm like, yeah, that's close, but I need more than that.
Yeah.
It's a founder celebration. What?
And tell me what city you lived in Ireland.
What? Something land.
What city in Ireland?
It's something land.
It's not. It's
Not?
not the right note. It's a one-syllable name. I've only had it here like once or twice. That's why I'm going after it again, because
I'm not going to tell.
Eliza. Come on, Ann. What city?
Ann, where did you grow up?
Who are you? That's what I got with who are you?
I'm Gene. What city did you grow up in?
Ann, you know me already.
You're treating me like some.
Oh, Ann, I just want to know where you grew up. I'm learning history.
Damn it. I just heard damn it. Totally. I just totally heard damn it.
Getting all kinds of curse words on there tonight.
It's Monday night, right? Come on.
Come on, Ann. Give us something. We've asked you a lot of questions. Pick one. Gotta be firm with these pirates. It's not like Eliza, where I have to be gentle. The word cells. Like prison cells.
You can talk to me. She loved him, didn't she? She loved Johnny.
Very much so. He got her away from the husband.
Oh, wow. How about that?
Ann, when was the last time you were at their armory here?
Sorry. I gotta take it out for a minute.
And you at least want to tell us where we're at? Like what building we're standing next to?
It's
Yeah, that can be a little daunting to listen to that for
Yes.
long periods of time. That's what I listen to my first cup of coffee every morning. I'm going through your data.
I know he when
Ann, where were you born? Where were you raised?
he is my family tends to drain me a whole lot, and so he has to feed me because when you're an empath you have to be fed.
Ann, where were you raised?
She's not going to answer.
Some language I didn't understand.
Exactly. It's almost Gaelic, isn't it? It's a weird language. I can't understand it.
I mean, it's a word.
But you can't. It's almost
What does it sound like?
It sounded very Gaelic, but it was like, yeah,
Yes.
It's
just weird.
Ann, where were you born?
You can't understand it, can you?
Yeah, that job's not easy to do. It's fun to learn about it, but until you have practice with it, like hours and hours and hours,
You just have to listen.
when you get your recording back, it's a lot easier because you're using your own headphones,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. You can put both of them on.
Ann, where were you raised? In Ireland.
Come on, Ann. Give us that city name.
It's not on.
Yeah, it is. Here.
Here.
Keep your hand away from this side. You're blocking the camera. You touched that wall and said yes.
Yeah.
This wall
And you totally feel it, don't you? Hear it, don't you?
belongs to St. Philip's Church. This is where the big steeple. We're still on their property.
Ann, are you tired tonight?
And
Ann, where were you raised? I just started laughing.
come on, Ann.
She doesn't want to say it. That's what she keeps telling me.
What?
She keeps telling me no.
It says yellow.
I can see your third eye, Gene.
Which would have
That is so weird.
given us a phrase that would have been used for the term coward. It says yellow.
Okay.
Ann, why don't you tell us what color your hair was?
There's a blue spot over there. Oh,
It says arrived. Who has arrived? Who's here?
and there's no reason to have a blue spot over there. Hello. Come see us. It's getting bigger.
Ann, talk to us, girl.
Give me one more term here, Ann. Not relevant. Close up shop here.
We're going home. My husband doesn't think I'm weird anymore.
We got the word founder. That's good. Here's why. I told you about the Charles Pinckneys earlier.
Uh-huh.
The nephew of Eliza's
She's
buried.
having a hard time.
He's buried across the street. And he was a founder of Charleston.
Oh.
Maybe she's having a bad night. She said
Right.
she's having a hard time.
Yeah. So who else is here with us? Give us a name.
There's somebody over there.
Well,
Yeah, there is over there. There's a cold spot.
well, I can't. I'm not going to film the car.
Just wait till they leave.
They're gone. They're gone.
Who else is here? We're trying to talk to Ann, but if somebody else is here, let us know who you
You
are.
see the cold spot over there? See the blue spot?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is it from the leaves? Is it a cone?
No, it's like that size. The blue spot over there.
The word beer.
Fear.
Beer. Like drink a beer.
Drink a beer. I'm surprised they didn't say rum.
Or ale. Ale would have been a big term for pirates too.
Yeah. Ale and rum and. Okay.
Who else is here? We need names.
Do you feel it? Yes, I feel it. I'm sorry. I am not responsible.
Okay, Ann. I'm gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
Okay, darling, we're gonna go. Thank you. This is my time off.
All right,
So go home. That's totally what I heard. So go home.
So go home. It's tucked away in there. That's going to be a lot to type up because of all the things that you heard. So, like, that's a promising thing. Why do I have the word